In an effort to understand more about what makes a good tweet, Karl goes to visit the author David Baddiel.
I got interviewed by John Humphreys on Today about Twitter, and he doesn't like Twitter. And they said, well, you never tried it, John. And so his tweet was about what's wrong with not liking something you've never tried. That's a good tweet, because you'll get loads of people coming up with ideas and thoughts and arguments about that.
I wouldn't skydive.
Well, I've never skydived, and I've never done it, and I wouldn't do it because I just have a sense that I'll be too frightened. Homosexuality.
Go on.
Well, I know I'm not gay, even though I've never tried it. Now, you could argue, well, if you tried it, you would find out, but I am...
I reckon you'd probably find it all right.
Do you think?
It's like all that weird stuff that people get up to, you know, like having it away with a dead body or whatever.
Yeah.
Now, I never think about that,
Yeah.
but I imagine that if you think about it a lot, you can convince yourself to do it, and then you'll go, actually, it's all right. Like olives. I never used to like olives, and then you try a couple and you go, what was I worried about?
Karl also seems to be developing more of a taste for Twitter.
I'll sign in again, just to see if Stephen has got back to me. So I sent the message saying Steve Guttenberg has a birthday on that day. Then he's going on about, I'm in a Greek restaurant in Midtown Manhattan. Very scrummy. See, what I don't get is, I mean, all this, it's clear now that he's not in his house. He could get his house robbed, because everyone knows he's in New York. I wouldn't tell anyone anything. You say, I'm not doing this. They don't need to know. So basically then, he hasn't got back to me. These are just all group messages.
Having so far failed to make friends with Stephen Fry, Karl decides to find out who else he might be able to chum up with on Twitter.
There's a lot of people on there that you'd expect, but then one that I sort of came across and I thought, what's he doing on there? What's he doing on Twitter? Alan Bennett. Alan Bennett on Twitter. I mean, he must be what? He must be in his 70s. Surely he's got enough friends, you know, true friends that he's known along the years. He doesn't need any new ones. I didn't think, you know, he'd have time in his life for, you know, talking to numbnuts all over the place.
If you went to a load of train spotters and said, there are no more trains, but you can still meet up here every Tuesday and chat, they'd be happy with that. Because really, they're finding each other. It's all about sort of companionship, or knowing you're part of the world.
Ricky Gervais is responding to Karl's suggestion that life will be better with no friends at all.
You're in a hut in the Outer Hebrides. I don't know, how is that being alive, really? If there's absolutely no interaction between you and the rest of the world, and I mean on a personal level, I mean with another human being.
Yeah, but you're making it... I'm not talking about living on a hill and being able to walk about in just my underpants because no one's ever going to see me.
Yeah.
I'm talking about...
Why have your underpants on?
Well, there could be something. I'm just saying someone could pass and go, hello, and then the first thing they see is me walking around with my tackle out. I just don't think it's...
But who are they
there's no
gonna tell?
problem wearing underpants. They're comfy pants. The ones I get are very, you know, they're never a problem.
You're not a fan of nudists, are you?
I don't
they
like
meet
it.
up. They make friends. Other nudists, they go along and they go, look, we're all in the same boat here. None of us like clothes.
Well, they say that, but then they're wearing a hat, or they've got a rucksack on, or flip-flops.
Yeah,
it's just the pants they don't like. That's the only bit. They're not nudists, they're pant haters. They're quite happy, they've got a beard. That's like wearing clothes to me. That's a balaclava. Have a shave. And down there. I'd rather have no mates than a bloke who goes, I've seen an Intercity 128 today, not interested, leave me alone. And maybe I'll look back on this little venture, you know, I'll look back in years to come and think, why did I want Stephen as a mate? What was I thinking? Just in the same way in King Kong, where that woman, you know, knocks about with the ape and the ape thinks he's going to get off with a woman. It's like, it's never going to happen, forget it. Maybe that's what it's like with Stephen. I don't know which one's the ape. Basically, the you know, long and short of it is, he still hasn't got back to me. And we're on day 3 now.
Danny Wallace is keen to help Karl become friends with Stephen Fry through Twitter.
But what are you going to do about Stephen Fry then? I mean,
He's not even acknowledging me.
I think to get his attention, what perhaps you should do is say something funny. Or come up with something interesting that's like a gift to him.
Well, I told him the other day, it was his birthday the other day, I said, you share it with Steve Guttenberg.
Okay.
Nothing.
Right, okay.
Nothing back.
Or, you sort of along those lines maybe, but maybe less Gutenberg-based.
Although disappointed that he hasn't had any personal contact from Stephen Fry, Karl at least learns from Twitter that Stephen has been eating out again. This time with a film director who Karl hasn't heard of.
Fred Schweppes. So I'll just say, which Fred Schweppes film would you recommend? Oops, it's capitals. That's not shouting, isn't it, if you write in capitals? That's probably what I'll be doing by the end of the week. Well, I sort of chased the Alan Bennett thing because I thought, if I was to do Twitter, I'd be quite good having Alan Bennett as a mate, wouldn't it? Because he seems a bit like me. I can imagine him not having that many mates. I sort of look at myself as almost like a slug, bit of a loner. You always see a slug on its own. You never see him in pairs, just always sort of climbing up a wall on its own. And Alan Bennett's a bit like that. Got in touch, turns out it wasn't him. Which is an odd thing, isn't it? I don't know why someone would join up Twitter to make friends as someone else.
Do you want to go and have a look at some of my tweets?
Let's have a look, yeah. Alright then. So what, when you said you...
After discovering that Alan Bennett's identity has been stolen, Karl asks David Baddiel whether celebrities face any other risks on Twitter.
What happens if they think, oh, David's really friendly, I'm going to track him down?
Yeah, well, that would be bad. And also, I'll tell you what also happened once. He's gone away now. But I got tweeted, assuming it was true, from a bloke who was in Broadmoor.
Really?
A bloke sent me a really odd, he's in here somewhere, odd, sinister tweet that said, "Hello David, I've always liked you. Think you might be a good person to tweet. I'm in Broadmoor." And then he next tweet said, "Guess who's sitting next to me? Go on, you'll never guess." And I didn't say anything, but I thought, well, it's a Yorkshire Ripper, isn't it? It's got to be. Yeah, that's who's in Broadmoor. Or Dennis Nielsen, I think, might be there too.
That's an odd one to sort of say you'd never guess. It's kind of...
Yeah, it is odd. But I suppose if you're in Broadmoor, that's a way of
But then again, you see, a part of me would be quite interested to hear from someone who's got a totally different life to me.
Right.
Karl, apart from Suzanne, your girlfriend, have you got a better mate than me in the world?
Well, I've got my mate from school, the one mate I keep in touch with, and I use him as almost like a memory stick.
Do you remember Mark Royal from school?
Yeah.
This is what he looks like now.
That isn't Mark Royal.
Laurie Peters is the only friend Karl is still in contact with from school.
So everyone's going to see that who haven't seen him for a while and think that's him.
And has Mark Royal said anything to you about that? Has he seen that?
Yeah, he's not that happy about it.
Karl is hoping Laurie can shed some more light on the appeal of Twitter.
Well, wouldn't your mum like to know if she was on Twitter and you was on Twitter and she got alerted to your every, your little quips that happen in the day?
I speak to my mum and dad every day. Not for long, for might be 5 minutes, and it's normally, what have you been up to? And they've been playing cards, and they'll say, oh, your Auntie Nora's fell over again. Right, that's kind of the general chat. And I don't like going over what I've been up to, because I've been through it. If anything, it would do my head in, because I'd realise how dull my life is.